Is your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich buses today. Ipswich buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to the last Wednesday night show of this series. We're only taking a week off. We'll be back in over a week's time, but as it's the last Wednesday night, I thought we'd do our Talking Town Awards evening for Best Defender at the football club, Best Midfielder, Best Striker of the Year, Player of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, and of course, we want you to get involved as well. This is a fan platform for fans by fans, and we will invite you to have your say on those categories. I will put a poll in the live chat when it comes up, and we also will put a link. So if you want to come on and make a claim for a player as to why they should be whatever, we absolutely welcome you to do so. Josh Russell, our YouTube member, is in the room. Good evening, Josh. Lee's here, Ben's here, Ant's here. Lots of you fill in the live chat. We absolutely love it to see a busy live chat. I had to put a link in there for a survey on our survey page, which is going to help us shape our audio content next season. I'm just asking you, basically, what shows you want on our audio platform. So far, I put the Sunday show and only the Sunday show on there, simply because I didn't want to just bombard the audio downloads for you with the content. But if you want more of our shows, if you want the Monday show, 1,200 of you have watched that already. If you want tonight's show, etc., next season, then I'll put them all on there if that's what you want. There's a survey to get involved and have your say, and then I'll just collect the results, and whatever the majority wants, the majority will get. Nick is missing everybody. Yes, the summer is starting to bite, but there might be an interest or two we can discuss today. We have hopefully a transfer. I mean, if there's a transfer next week, I will go live. You know me, my friends. I'll go live for the big ones. And as always, as Josh is a YouTube member, follow his fantastic lead if you should so wish. Become a YouTube member today, or support us through Ko-Fi. Where is our wonderful boards? There they are. Our wonderful Talking Town fifth stand ultras. We firmly believe this is the fifth stand of the football club. Brings everybody together to discuss the love of Ipswich Town, and these wonderful people support us through their monthly commitment. And without them, we couldn't do what we do on a regular basis. So thank you very much. And let's go ahead and bring in our first contributor. I feel like I've not played his introduction in a long time, but here it is.
No, pretty Caroline. Oh, stone cold stunner. She was a winner, started working at the dime. Serves his love remind to count your blessings, cause it's telling fair. Put you down and leave you dead, don't make them scared. Yeah, it's the ugly truth. How they come for you.
I don't know what to say on that, really, other than...
Here he is, Mike Brown. I let the whole thing play because it's the last time we'll see it. New intros from next week. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm very well, man. Yeah, yourself?
I'm not too bad. Yeah. How's the summer going? Nick's missing us all. Are you missing the grass and Portman Road just yet?
Well, to be honest, I've had lots of going on anyway. I've just had my leg closed. So I've been doing loads of work down there, and so I've had lots of things to keep me occupied. Obviously, you do look on. You try and keep up to date with what's happening at Portman Road, but at the moment, we don't know what's going on, do we? Lots of rumours, but nothing factual other than contract extensions.
Yeah, lots of rumours. We'll sort of come to them one by one as we start tonight's show. Then we'll come to the awards, of which many people are intrigued as to how you, of all people, are going to take tonight. Like they're not quite sure you can find anybody to shout about. Just tell people at home, you have got a couple of people you think played well last year, right? Don't say the names just yet, but there are a couple you're going to champion?
Maybe one or two, yeah.
Maybe one or two, right?
One or two.
He means one, ladies and gentlemen. You can all know who that one is. But we'll get to that shortly. Talk about transfers in and out. A player that we've spoken about, but he's got some interest from Leyton Orient and Tranmere, Idris El Mizani. I can never say the surname. I do apologise. Would you be sad to see him go on a permanent or a loan? Is his time up here? What do you
I just think he's. I wish him all the best. But we need far better than what he can offer at this moment in his career. We need to, we need to get promoted next season. We can't have another one like we've had this season or the seasons before. So for me, look, I think he does need to move on. I think it's time he moved on. It comes and bites us in the arse years to come, then it does so. But for me, no, we need better, to be brutally honest.
Lee Brown says, does he need a lift? Do you think if let's say we allowed Idris to move on to wherever, would you then be open to seeing Tyreek Backinson come in as his replacement as a squad rotation player, not necessarily as a first team player? Would you sign Tyreek Backinson for a first team spot? How were you on the lone player Tyreek Backinson?
Sorry, I'm just adjusting my laptop. Tyreek Simpson.
Tyreek Backinson.
Oh, Backinson, no, not for me.
No, why not? What about Backinson's played?
Look, he scored a worldie at the end of the season, but that to me, at most he's a bit part player, and I don't want bit part players. I want players to get us out of this league. Okay. Even on that last game of the season, there was times in the first half where he just kept giving the ball away, and it's consistently giving the ball away. I think some fans need to sort of wake up and smell a bit of coffee because. We need to get out of this league, and Backinson is just, for me, not good enough.
Not good enough. Okay, so I wouldn't say it was a worldie at the end of the year, but he
was a good hit.
To be fair, it was. But to be fair to him, Mike, he scored 2 goals. The first one was obviously a bit of a scuff. 14 games he played, with 3 big chances created, 0.8 key passes. And an accurate percentage of 79% for passes. So, is he as bad as you're painting him out to be, or is there a player you can bring in on a free to develop? Is he a better prospect than saying Idris?
Oh yeah. Well, I just can't get excited with Backinson, and I really can't. Idris Mizuni, I would have got. He should have gone last season, but. For me, Backinson, I just don't want to see what he offers in the midfield. He don't really offer a lot, really.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. That's
just my opinion.
Yeah, exactly why we've got you here.
Some fans love him, but we got to be real. We want to get out of this league, and for me, well, look, if he signs and he comes and it's Kieran McKenna's choice and he does well, then I'll stand at the end of next season saying, "Do you know what? I got it wrong."
Well, he's not signed yet. He is a free agent from Bristol. Darren Suttle, loads of people talk players in, players out. Who knows what to believe? We need to start to build a team that will get us promoted. Colin said he has some decent games, but as Mike agrees with you, Norman Back has been released. If we were interested in him, wouldn't we have signed him by now? Harry's bored without football and he wants some signings. Harry, don't we all? Well, it's not quite a signing, but back on the platform after only a week away. He is everyone's favourite. It's the Milktray Man. Ben, how are you, sir?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you boys? Good?
Good. Yeah, good. Welcome back. So that was Idris's interest. Let's sort of shift it a little bit. Wesley Burns, who I'm sure will come up probably a couple of times tonight with the awards, but finally, Ben, he has been called up to the Wows squad. Talk to me about that one.
Is it a surprise to anyone? He's had an incredible season, fantastic statistics, amazing goals. The linchpin of the entire team. You could probably argue alongside Morsey in the second half of his season. I really hope he gets a game. Of course, I do worry a little bit about that risk of having your sole most important player within 20 miles of the club playing games over summer. I'm just going to pray he doesn't get injured, because it does happen.
Mhm.
But I think for him personally, I think it's a wonderful achievement, and it's an achievement that he's worked very hard to earn. So well done.
Absolutely, richly deserved. What are we looking for here from this experience for Wes, Ben? Is it we primarily want to? Is it just about him going? Is he going to get game time? Do you feel he's good enough to get game time at the international level?
I would say so, based on the season he's had, and of course it's all about the levels you play with. League One, he's had a fantastic, season in League One. How that transfers to the international stage, who knows? But many a very good player's career has been made off of the top of a very good international performance, usually out of nowhere. The beautiful thing is, if he has a fantastic, European tour. Sorry, Wales. World Cup, is it? Not the European tour. What am I talking about?
It's the World Cup, yeah. And this is a couple
of
games.
If he has a good World Cup, then so he has 2 or 3 games. He's fantastic. He really catches the eye. He's ours. We're not going to worry about a team in the upper championship sniffing for him. He's ours, which is fantastic. So in that sense, I hope he has a fantastic, because that's all about the confidence you bring into the next season. Because I'm thinking maybe if I was a player and I just had the season he had, maybe because it's my own kind of self, worrying about abilities and things. So could I do that again? I've set a really high bar for myself. Was that a one-off? But I think by playing at the World Cup and having your abilities recognised, it kind of continues the momentum of brilliance. Yeah. So he doesn't come in thinking he's got to start that all over again. He's like, I'm just going to carry on. So in that sense, I think it's really, really, really good.
Where would you play him then? Because obviously for Ipswich, he's been playing that right wing back role. Do you think he'll play the same role for Wales? Do you think
I don't know.
Right
I don't know enough about.
I
don't know enough about the Wales squad to know that who would take his place. I don't really follow any form of British Football World Cup because I'm Germany, so I don't really know. But you'd have to say that the reason he's been called up for the squad is because he's excellent in the position he plays. I couldn't imagine him sticking him on the inside or maybe going left wing or something ludicrous. So you have to think that the merits that he's earned in the position he's played. So, I hope he does that. I don't want him to go into some weird formational position and then it kind of thinking, oh shit, I'm not as, it's not working for me. And for him to bring that back to Ipswich, keep the confidence levels high, keep in the position where he's comfortable, keep him on cloud 9. I don't want him to fall off it. Yes.
Every brilliant thing, such as like Lee Anderson says, the pinnacle of your career, Mike, is playing for your country. Shows you can get noticed at League One. The issue is though, it's a double-edged sword, because if he was to do well in these 2 games, one being a Nations League game against Poland, and the other a World Cup qualifier, and they went to the World Cup, we could be without Wesley Burns for around a month in the middle of November, come December. That's an issue, isn't it?
I'd be more worried about if Burns goes and he ends up going to the World Cup. I'm not worried about Championship teams coming in for him. I'd be more worried about Premiership teams coming into him. Not the top end, I granted, but I'd be more worried about, mid-table, Brighton type teams coming in for him because, Championship, he probably wouldn't go. But if you've got a chance to play in the Premier League, you're going to go, aren't you? That's my take on it. You get called up to the Welsh side, I wish him all the best. I really do. I mean, it is a pinnacle of someone's career, isn't it? Getting called to the national side, and I hope he does well. If he does as well as, it's a risk. Like I say, that's my only worry. Is I'm not worried about Championship sides coming in for him. My worry would be a low sort of, bottom half Premiership side coming in for him.
Yeah.
Especially if he does well in the World Cup, or
All right. Yeah. No.
Who knows? It's
Yeah.
That's the scary thing about it.
Is he good enough for the Premier League? I don't know about that. At least if he was to go as Mike describes, it would be fine with me if we go up next season. Just good luck to him for these first 2 games, really. Yeah. Just go and be the Wesley Burns that we know, and I'm sure you will come up again this season.
We're kind of almost being quite selfish because we're thinking about the consequences of him going. Whereas but we're supporters, but maybe we should think, from a supporter's perspective, we support the players. So for him, we are all 100% behind him because it must be a really proud moment. But there's the supporters side, that selfish side. I'm kind of hoping that he kind of has a couple of good games, doesn't get injured, and comes back without, too many Premier League clubs going, who's that guy then? 3 years deal? How much money we got? I don't want that to happen.
No, yeah, I think it's more just the experience at this point. I think going to a camp with Real Madrid star Gareth Bale, with players from the Premier League, from Serie A, just the quality of player you're going to be around for the period of time that you're there. Mike D can't see Burns getting a game. He says Conor Roberts and Nico Williams way ahead of him. And if that was the case, and that was to happen with no game time, again, the quality of player you're being with and learning from and watching can only benefit you as a player. And it gives you a little bit of a taste, a hunger to want more. And you only
I'm going to have a fantastic season and get ahead of me.
Exactly. You only get more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it strange that he'd get called up to Wales team and not get some sort of minutes.
They need to fulfill a quota.
It's not a Theo Walcott moment going to the World Cup and sat on the bench watching everybody play, is it?
Yeah.
Well, no, but they obviously had a couple of dropouts. They had to name a 25-man squad. It's good to be first prelim. I just think, as a player, this is almost could be the start of we either progress or Wes Burns progresses without us, because you do not get into the Wales squad on a regular basis playing at the Wham Stadium for a league game. Do you not? No disrespect to the Wham Stadium and Accrington and Stanley, but you don't progress your international career by playing your league games there, or bloody Bristol Rovers' ground, or Exeter, or Forest Green. You need to be playing in the Championship at the very least. Talking of which, Mike, Corley Woodrow linked with Ipswich. Barnsley currently 25 games last year in the Championship, 4 goals, 1 assist, 1.1 shots on target per game, 2.6 shots per game in total. Would you welcome this? Because from my outside looking in, Mike, it don't get me excited.
Why?
4 goals, 20 odd games.
I know, but you have to also consider he was injured as well before that.
Yeah, he still played 25 games.
I've done a bit of. I had Conor message me to say, what do you think of this Corley Woodrow? And I'm going to have a look. I'm going to have a bit of YouTube moments and sort of go from there. Do you know what? He's got pretty good stats until after his injury.
Yeah, 12 goals in 41 the year before, to be fair to him.
Knows this league. And this is what we keep saying. It's all very well bringing in these prima donnas, the Salinas with the nice little flicks and tricks and here, there and everywhere. Yeah. But what you do need is players that know this league. And someone like him would be a player that I would take him. I really would. If we had an opportunity to sign him, I'd sign him. I think he's a type of player that we could do with.
So for score, Ben lists his strength as penalty taker and taking, and we don't even get
someone who can do something at set pieces.
Yeah,
but he also played with Chappers.
He did, and anchoring play. His weaknesses they list as ball control, ground duels, and long balls. If you go past this year, Ben, 2021 season in 41 games, he got 12 goals. The year before that, in 37 games, he got 14 goals. So, he has got goals in the locker.
1 in 4 and 1 in 3. Okay.
And he's a player, I swear, we've been linked with since the day Mick McCarthy became manager. Yeah. I swear Corley Woodrow has been on every summer shopping list I've seen. But what would you make of it if this time next week I'm live, the transfer signing, Corley Woodrow signs for Town? Would you be yay, nay?
To be honest with you, it's funny because at first I was thinking not a fucking chance, but actually listening to Mike quite carefully there, and I think there's really something you say about knowing the league you want to get out of rather than coming down on gold dust and everything. But it's funny because I'm thinking of the strikers we have now. You think Norwood would tear it up. You think Pigott would come down here and score 25 goals. Our striker Jackson, who my feelings about Jackson, I think is the first huge error in McKenna's tenure. But you look at the strikers on paper we've got now, you think they do very well, but they're all absolutely shit. It's the sole reason we didn't get promoted. It's the sole reason why we're 11th. So I'm fairly open to the strikers we're going to have. I just hope it's my only kind of presupposition would be it would have to be different than what we have now. It would have to be different. But then again, our strikers, if Piggott was out there now in another team and he had the season he had before us, you'd be thinking, pay 5 million, 25 goals, go and get the boy. But of course, it never comes to pass like that. I think a strike force is as much as a coin flip as anything else. So, do you know what? I think I'm actually I think I've changed my mind actually there, Mike. I think you've made me think about that. Someone who knows the league is a really important thing.
But as Mike D says, Ben, before you confirm that, Mike D, Piggott knows the league. And that's a fair point. He does.
So let's then we cross out that as a reason to buy a striker. What reasons do you have? What are the reasons that you buy a striker? 20, 25 goals plus. Well, we've kind of already done that with Piggott. So I'm saying that whatever strategy we've had to select our strikers and retain the atrocious ones that we just have, it needs to be something completely different. I mean, that's where it will be. You'll see the quality of McKenna. That I think this will be his litmus test. This will be his trial of the century. It's what strikers he buys, because he's quite blessed in other areas of the pitch, via a left back and a goal scoring midfielder. But those strikers, you get them right, we get out this league. I don't know. I don't know who's out there. Nothing set alight. But do you know what? Some of the best strikers that come to a club don't set the world right before they come here. So who knows? Shefki, who could be one of them? So
he did. Oh well, there you go. Yeah, everyone at the time probably would have turned their nose up at
Daryl Murphy.
Yeah. I'll take what you said there, and what do you base a striker on? And for me, I think it's going to be consistency. I look at Piggott, for example. Never really had a consistent run of games. Because I would be intrigued to go and get, I don't know, let's say League Two's top goal scorer, a player ascending in a rich vein of form. But you'd have to consistently give them the opportunity to mess up, to not have a game where he scores, to have 2 games off. To his credit, that's where Bond probably had the rub of the green more than any other striker. He was given the consistent run, particularly early on, to be the striker he was. Late on, it was like, it was like a game of Russian roulette. It was shake the dice. Whatever number comes up this week, you're up, like the lottery. Sorry, Mike Woodrow, looking at his heat map, played a lot outside the box last year. Can play as an attacking midfielder. Is this more actually a replacement signing for a Selena than it is a striker?
Look, there was only one reason really why we all wanted Piggott, and that was because he scored lots of goals. Okay, but with Woodrow, there's more than one reason. For me, there's more reasons. He already played with Chappers and knows them two know each other really well. So you've already got kind of a partnership going there type thing. Look, for me, I feel sorry for Piggott to a point, but he has been given chances. He played some games when, quite frankly, he didn't look like he could even care about playing football. That was how bad he was.
Joe Piggott, 10 starts last year, 2 goals. That's not a chance, Mike, for a striker that came in.
No, I disagree, because I'll tell you why. He was when he was given games to go out there and do something. But when you see lackluster performances from him, you think, well, you're given a chance to do something and you're doing nothing. And most of the time, that was what he offered, nothing. I just don't feel. Look, Piggott may be a goal scorer for some other team, but for us, I don't think he fit the style of McKenna.
I agree.
Jackson, I wanted him gone. I didn't want him, but Kenna's kept him. There's only one reason I can see that he's not going to be the out and out striker. I can see him playing more wide left, where he has played a few times for Kieran McKenna in that 3 when he has come on and stuff. I know that Lee said he's played more up front on his own, but when he's cut in from that left hand side and he's produced some assists for some goals, you just think actually I can see perhaps that's why he's been kept. But yeah, look, I think Piggott has had opportunities. He hasn't really grasped them and saying, do you know what, I'm going out there. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to get a yellow card within sort of 15 minutes. And just sort of show the fans that, I'm going to work hard, and I just feel that he hasn't done that.
You're absolutely right, Mike, because when he came on and he had his little runs, they were off the back of Bonn going through which turned out to be a 2/3 of a season-long goal drought. And he's like, okay, a striker who has just scored 12 in 15 is now, is now off. This is my chance. And he's had that 2 or 3 times. Went back to Bonn to think, okay, let's refine that magic. Hasn't happened. Piggott's come back on. I agree with you there. He has been given those chances this season. And although I do think there is an element of, it's funny because no one's criticising him, no one's being kind of animalistic. I think everyone's like, it just isn't working. The poor guy, maybe he needs to move on for his own sake and ours. But you're right, he has had the chances, and factually, he has not taken them. And
do question whether he's mentally right at the moment or last season. Look, I lost my mum, and he's lost his dad, and it's affected me. But I think it's affected me in a different way. I'm more positive. I'm like, I don't put off things. I get things done more now. I treat time as my friend now rather than my enemy. And I think maybe, maybe I don't know. Maybe Piggott's taken a different sort of view of it.
And everyone's experience of that is completely different.
Absolutely, yeah.
We don't know what Piggott's experience of losing his dad is. And everyone's is different. Martin, yours will be different than Piggott's, will be different to yours, Mike. So it's like, okay, he's a professional footballer in a context where he has to perform. There's no, you perform, you score goals. Otherwise, it's going to have 25,000 people saying you're useless. So I think that's a hell of a pressure to shoulder alongside something like that. He might be a person who's like, I'm fine with it. I can compartmentalize it. I'm just not having a really good season. He might be a person who thinks, holy shit, I can't get past this. But I think a lot of Town fans, when I talked about him, and that goes back to my point, they know that. They know he's a young man who's just lost his dad, and there's no animosity about Piggott at all. Any book you read from any source, no one's saying, fuck him off, he's fucking useless. I'll drive him to the airport. There's none of that. It's just like, it's not working.
I do seriously and honestly believe if he's still a Town player next year, I think you'll see an absolute transformation, a transformative player that you'll say this time next year, where was that the year before? I truly think that. I think he moved football clubs, which is unsettling to anybody, having to move to a new location, different people, new friend circles, all of that. Then, of course, what you've mentioned just there. I do think there's a player there. We'll come to the strikers in a minute.
And God bless you, Colin. God bless
Absolutely. We'll come to the strikers in a minute for our striker of the year. A few comments first. Joe Bradley, Woodrow, 2 goals from open play for 30 shots on target. Not for me, says Joe. Gorkes from Coventry, 6 years younger and 17 goals in the league from 62 shots. Stephen, did Wes Burns light our fire when he signed? Absolutely. Darren Salter, we may have these so-called strikers. The problem is we need to get the ball to them with a decent cross or set play. Norman Greenwald, we need a striker with good movement who can create their own space and can finish that one chance. Harry, after hearing Cali the other night, I'm hoping for Johnson Clark Harris. Craig at Portsmouth, welcome in, sir. It would be a shame for Piggott if our biggest memory of him at Town was getting in the way of Selena. It was. Darren, all the strikers had their chance last season. They failed to take their chances and left the manager totally frustrated on who to play.
Here, Darren. Here.
Absolutely. Talking of which, strikers. Striker of the year. What we're going to do tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is go through some awards. Striker of the year, midfielder of the year, defender of the year. Christian Walton is obviously goalkeeper of the year. There's no question there. I'm not even going to bother trying to make that a debate, if you like. But then we'll take the winners of those individual categories and put them up for a Player of the Year award with 2 additional wild cards that we can select when that point arrives. And then we'll also have the most improved. We need your help. There'll be a poll in the chat for each section and a link for you to come on and put your case forward, should you so wish, for a player in a category. So, strikers, first up, we've got 4. James Norwood, Macaulay Bonne, Joe Piggott, and Caden Jackson. Ben, who's your striker of the year, first of all?
I don't know. You asked me this a week ago, Gov, and I said I won't. I can't give you one. He said you have to, Ben. Just pick
You have
one.
to. They're
And
your 4 nominations.
I can't. Yeah, I mean, if there were guns to my family's head and say pick a striker, I'd say I'll give you all a fantastic funeral. I love you all. Thanks for being there for me. I'll mourn you forever. I don't know.
Come on, it wasn't. They weren't that bad for the whole season. There is, Macaulay Bonne. I'll put a case forward from Macaulay Bonne.
Yeah, do you know what I think? Macaulay Bonne because of the amount of goals he scored, but the such drastic downturn and what he didn't give afterwards was almost. I would almost prefer he hadn't have scored any goals because it was. That's not a goal drought. That's your finish for the season, and that happened in December. So I'm going to have to say Macaulay Bonne, and it hurts me to say that.
Well, just because he's striker of the year doesn't mean he's going to win player of the year. Just because he's been put forward doesn't mean that's as far. Might be as far as he goes, Ben. Mike, surely you're going to say James Norwood, being a Norwoodite.
Right, okay. I can't separate these 2 strikers. I can't. For 2 different reasons. Right. Okay, so Macaulay Bonne, right? Ipswich Town fan. Played for our first team, scored in front of all our fans and got all them goals at the start of the season. You know, look, if that's your only contribution to the club, what a way to do it. You know, because I know every one of us sat on this panel right now, the fans in there would love to do that. Go out there, sneak up behind the keeper and score that cheeky little goal, or just nicking that last minute ditch in near post tap in or whatever. So for that reason, I'd want to give it to Bonne, but I'd also want to give it to Norwood as well because I kind of felt there's times when when the rest weren't scoring, he'd come up with a goal. So I can't separate them. I kind of just feel that, from a Town fan, I want to say Bonne, but from a striker's point of view, I want to say Norwood. So I just can I just go Norwood?
Can you go? Can you go Macaulay Norwood?
Norwood.
I'm going to say Caden Jackson because this time last year.
What?
No. This time last year. No. This time, look, Caden Jackson.
Are you okay, man?
Yeah, okay? I'm absolutely deadly serious because and these are the reasons why Caden Jackson for me would win our striker of the year.
Just one reason would be incredible. I'm all ears.
This time last year, he was in a team to face Chelmsford. Firmly told, you ain't wanted here, son. Flynn Downs is in that team. Flynn Downs is gone. Caden Jackson was in that team, was not wanted, did not have a place here. Quite clear. But what did he do? Got his head down. He worked hard. He got himself off the scrap heap. Caden Jackson last year started 7 games and scored 3 goals with 3 assists. 3 goals in 7 games. That is a good return. He is a good striker. That's my argument, primarily because he got
James Norwood 1 in 2.
He got himself off the scrap heap. He got himself off. Nobody gave him anything. He had to literally fight tooth and nail to go anywhere. You're saying here that I wouldn't choose any of them, and now you're acting as if Caden Jackson's the worst striker since Sam Parkin.
I'm not. Look, but based on if we were looking at our top 4, then obviously Jackson for me would be a 3rd, and Piggott would be last. And I mean that is the reality of it. But
the reality of it is none of them will win
anything. About Jackson, but Norwood stats last year was 1 in 2.
Yeah, no, look, James.
So,
not disagreeing with that. Not disagreeing with that.
I mean, it's your choice. I get that. It's your opinion. I respect it.
I've just got to try and make
something.
I'm gonna go back to the point I made in the last show. Is that as much as everyone's like Piggott needs to be moved on, he needs to go. It has failed for him. He scored more goals last season than Jackson scored since 2016, and we want to get promoted to the championship. No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, that's fair. No, that's fair. I had to try and put someone forward, as we've said repeatedly on the last 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
It's the weakest department we've got in the football team.
It
There's
is.
a reason why
But
we're all
it's
desperate.
widely acknowledged, and I think we're all kind of in agreement that needs to be the target of the summer transfer business. If we're going to spend £4 million, strengthen just that area and don't touch the rest. For me, that's everything. That's whether you get promoted or not. Look at all the teams above us. They have more than 3 players on 15 goals a season in their front 5. You need that next season, no questions.
Absolutely right. So Bon and Norwood, we'll put Norwood through, go into the hat, as it were. Midfielder of the year we come to now. Now I'm going to put. Where do we put Wesley Burns, gentlemen? Before I do midfielder of the year, do you put Wesley Burns as a defender, or do you put him as a midfielder? Because
he's here, he's there, he's every fucking where. Yeah.
He's a midfielder. You know, he spends most of his time in the midfield, getting forward and getting back. He's a midfielder.
Okay, Ben,
I'm not saying in the middle, but he's in that middle row. He's a midfielder all day long.
Right, Burns is a midfielder.
I think I told you Chaplin earlier, because I saw him as more of a centre forward than in the middle of the park. But actually, I suppose if Burns would count him as a midfielder, then there's probably really not much of a question, is there? So it will be a toss-up between Chaplin and Burns. But I think if we're casting Burns as midfielder, I'm with Mike on that.
Okay, so midfielder of the year. These are your nominations: Sam Morsey, Wesley Burns, Connor Chaplin, or Bersant Selena. Arguably, on paper, our toughest category to choose from. Mike, you're shaking your head, so I'll come to you first. Then, who is your midfielder of the year?
Burns all day long.
Okay, why?
Well, we've got player of the year for a start, and his contribution to our cause this year. I mean, without him, I think we'd have probably finished lower than 11th.
Sometimes
you don't get player of the year. Look, he wasn't my player of the year, but at the end of the day, I voted for someone else. But the reality is, you cannot argue he's been one of our top players this season. He really has. So, for me, no one else comes that close. Morsey came in late, and to be honest, Morsey had a better second half than he did the first. So the reality is, and Chaplin probably had a better second half than the first, and for me, like I said, I just feel that that's no brainer. I mean, bother Burns easy all day long.
Okay,
twice on Sunday.
Before you give us your nomination out of Morsey, Burns, Chaplin, and Selena, Ben, is there a case for Sam Morsey here? Been speaking about him recently on the platform in terms of possibly losing him. He's currently second in the fan poll via the live chat with 20% of the vote share.
Second for what?
For their nomination of Player of the Year. He's
fair enough.
Only with 20%. Wesley Burns is currently running away with it. But is there a case? Yeah. Is there a case for Sam Morsey? Can you put forward that case on behalf of that 20%, or is it a similar thing?
Are we talking midfielder now? We're talking player.
Midfielder of the year, yeah.
Burns. I mean, the Morsey is probably a different question. It's probably the next category. But Burns, by numbers, by stats, by international call-ups, by recognition, by goals, by statistics, by accuracy, by passing, by goal.
What about culture and standard? What about a player that drives? Because things you can't.
Look at the amount of community work he does. When you see him on the socials, he's always out visiting people. He's always putting his name about. He's always signing things. I see him with fans, young and old. That's a Town player for me. That's an Ipswich Town player.
Yeah, I'm going to put it forward. I'm going to put forward the case for Morsey. I know I'll bring in Mr. Lee Anderson to see what he says about the four midfield players. He is a player that sets the standard in the culture. He is a player that literally could have said, "Yeah, my hamstring's done. Yeah, I'm going to sit it out on the sidelines. I ain't feeling too good. It's not 100%." Instead, he said, "Strap me up. I'm getting back on that football field. Nothing is holding me back." And that is a standard and a culture.
No, you need you're a professional football. That just means you're a professional footballer.
Ben, you became known to this platform for injury bingo. No. That is not being a professional football player. There is setting a standard and a culture at a football club when you have 19 new signings. That would be why would maybe be tempted to vote for Mr. Morsey. Lee, you got your midfielders in front of you. Who's your midfielder of the year?
Chaplin.
Connor Chaplin gets Lee's
Yeah.
vote. Why?
It's a close second.
First of all, I think the first issue is with I see Mike head out your hands. I've agreed with you tonight. So the first thing is probably on a technicality is Burns actually played right wing for the first half of the season. I put midfield, but actually when you think about it, he played a right winger. So he should have been put down as a forward or a defender. So that's quite difficult with what you're doing. In terms of those that spent most of their time in midfield for the whole season, I want to vote for Chaplin. Right? Mike said he was running around like a headless chicken, but he brings so much more to the team and the way that the team plays. With his off-the-ball movement, he's picking up the gaps. And he had a good second half of the season, and he scored a lot of goals. Now, you could put Chaplin, if you put Chaplin into the forward line, which you could do, he would walk away with it.
Oh, he wins it easy, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, Burns is an easy option, but, if we're playing a back five, then he's classed as a defender. If we're playing a under Cook, he was a right winger. So I'm not. So
right wing is midfield.
I'm not sure. Sorry, mate.
Right wing, as you know, right wing across the midfield, left wing is all midfield, isn't it?
Well, it depends if you're playing free. No, not under Cook. It wasn't. Was it?
No, but what I'm saying is, if you're playing a right winger and a left winger and two what they call midfield players with them as well, you're in that. You're not in the centre of the middle of the park, are you? You're still in that midfield line.
Yeah, you're wide. You are wide. It depends how you play them. But I think he played as a front three under Cook. But that's all technicalities. But I think Chaplin, for me, in that middle and the second half of the season, he came on strong. And I think he was a bit of an unsung hero. And he scored some important goals. I've
got an unsung hero category for you. Don't you worry. But I agree with you on that.
Yeah, but I just think for the midfield. I mean, you could argue for Morsey as well, for different reasons. But I think for me, it would be Chaplin because of how he links the play up. And we all talk about, when he's not on the pitch, or other players, when we link the play up and that, he offers so much more than just than he does.
Would you say Chaplin is more of a look? Crunchy and myself both think that he should be playing more further forward. And I think if he played a lot further forward, he would get more goals. More of a striker type, forward striker type player. Because he can score goals. And I think, when our other strikers were huffing and puffing and not doing a lot, there was times, like you said, where Chappers came up and got a goal. And there was times like I said, the first half of the season, he was a bit headless chicken, even, and then there's times when, like I said, where you think, actually, there is a player. Now, I was like, no, we ain't going to keep him, let's get rid of him. But I changed my mind. And that was because I'd seen a few games where I thought, actually, no, he's getting further forward. Therefore, he's offering more, and the fruits of that were plain and obvious to see. So I had to change my mind. The hypocrites around say otherwise,
Well, I think that's there because he's learned to play the role, hasn't he? I think he said, he's played as maybe part as a front two, but he had to learn to adapt to that number 10 role, and I think that evolved through the season. So going back to what you said, Mike, maybe he didn't look so effective the first half of the season, and he was still learning, other position. But he picks up really good pockets. And I must say, first couple of games when he played, because he got injured, didn't he, after the first one or two, and I thought, he looks a bit lightweight. I'm not sure what we got here. But that settled down for me really, really quickly, and I think that's got to be credit to him as well, being asked to play a role that maybe he's not been used to at his previous club. But he could certainly play off a main striker.
One ball.
Sorry, that's such a most underrated comment of the season.
Luke carries in for pre-assist.
That's got to be printed somewhere.
Goal one. Connor Chaplin makes our first wild card entry into the Player of the Year, Lee. We appreciate that. The live chat have gone with Wesley Burns. So
Fair enough.
They've gone there. Stay there. We'll keep you in for Defender of the Year. This one could get a little bit tasty.
There's only one. There's
Well,
no
there
debate
is
about
only
this
one,
at all.
but there's multiple people who could win Defender of the Year. Because
Oh,
let's be honest, if the strikers was our weakest point, this is our strongest point. So your first nomination is Denoy Donatian. No comments just yet, gentlemen. Then your second one is Luke Wolfenden. We will have Edmondson, of course, and Cameron Burgess. Those are your four options.
Penny?
Donatian, Wolfenden, Edmondson, and Burgess. Polls in the chat. Ben, who's your Defender of the Year?
Penny, isn't he a left back?
Well, you could have Penny if you like.
Yeah, left back in the changing rooms.
If you wanted Matt
Left back
Penny,
on the
you can
coach.
have Matt Penny.
For me, there is only one, and this is not to take away the brilliant season that Donatian has had, but Luke Wolfenden. Yes, I know he only played that game after game after game, second half of the season, but if you can say the same for Morsey, you can say the same for Wolf. Consistent, never put a foot wrong, one of the most improved players ever. You talk about a player who was on their way out, who said, no, not only am I going to establish myself on the team, but I'm going to deploy one of the best defensive partnerships in the division. That guy, you watch him when, nice pussy. That guy, when you watch him, never puts a foot wrong, ever. And even when Edmondson, look up, Martin, look up, I'll hide it. Even when Edmondson got injured, and I thought, holy shit, is Edmondson the knowledge and experience making Wolfenden look good? No, Wolf got better. He took Edmondson's role and he went to another level. There's a reason he played every single game. If Morsey wasn't here, I think that's your captain. For me, my player of the fucking season, as far as I'm concerned, because debate it amongst ourselves.
Luke Wolfenden, Defender of the Year for Ben. Before I come, Mark, I'll come to you now. Do you know who's your Defender of the Year? If I needn't know already.
Right, I'm going to surprise someone here because look. Without saying too much, right? I'm defending simply based on defending, right? I have to give it to Wolfie because I'm on the same opinion as Ben. He looked high and dry and out of the club, even as as far as probably November. And he's came in under McKenna and just looks so good.
Yeah,
he looked better than Edmondson, and I thought Edmondson had some good games.
Yeah,
but if Wolfenden, based on defending, Wolfenden to me gets that nomination because I just think he's been a solid rock at the back. He really has, and I never thought I'd say that after the start he had at the club, last season.
So that's your vote.
Yeah.
Not Denoy Donatian.
One bad.
No, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to debate that later.
Okay, all right, Lee, Defender of the Year. Currently in the live chat, it is the closest it's been out of all departments. We've got Donatian winning it with 54% and Wolfie with 42%. Are you with your brethren in the live chat, or are you going to go with the two on the panel here? Who's your defender?
I'm sort of with the two on the panel, but the thing is, we've got two halves of a season here, haven't we? And that's the first thing you've got to consider. Under Cook, well, we were all talking about. I mean, Mike could have sacked the whole lot of them. I mean, Mike wanted the back four out the goalkeeper and all sorts. I mean, let's be honest. But that was down to formation, and we have to be careful here about how we pick the best players because formation has a lot to do with it and tactics. If you're gun ho and you're leaving just two of you at the back, then it doesn't matter who's centre back, you're going to get exposed, and that's going to make you look poor. But what McKenna has done is because he's tightened the back up, we now look like we've got good defenders. We always had good defenders. It's just the structure in which we play them and how we set the team up. So for me, I agree with Mike and with Ben, with JD, in terms that if you're talking about an all-rounder, JD could be the player of the year without being the best defender. And the reason I say that is because of his attacking ability. If you look at any team, that play a back three, if you can find me another right-sided or left-sided centre-back that spends so much time flying down the right wing or the left wing, getting to the byline, making crosses, then I'll be glad to see them. So I think, in terms of how we're voting here, Donacien is probably a victim of his own success in terms of what he can achieve. So that's what I'm trying to say there. But on the other hand, with Wolfenden, he didn't get a look in under Cook. So did he play? Short memories about this half of the season. He's been absolutely fantastic.
He played 10 less games than Donacien. Only 10, to be fair.
Yeah, and what about the Fridge?
I can find that out for you.
So for me, thinking about it at the moment, until Edmondson got injured, so he played more than
32. He's played 2 more games than Wolfenden, 8 less than Donacien.
That's what I thought. So for me, in terms of that, Edmondson, had he not got injured, I mean, he's our best defender. He's our best footballing defender we have, without doubt. And Wolfenden's getting close to him. Now he's playing in a better formation. Remember, Edmondson was looking good under a Cook formation. And we were shipping goals left, right and centre. So it's a real balance between those two for me. So I would say, based on the fact that Wolfenden has come back from the brink of people saying he's going to leave the club, Wolfenden is the one that's stepped up and improved the most. So I would go with Wolfenden.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right.
Interesting. Didn't expect that.
No, I didn't expect that either. All 3 of you gone for Wolfenden. The chat very much is going for Donacien, so he will be in the Player of the Year final conversation because he will make it as the chat's champion, the people's champion, Janoy Donacien. Turbotic, Donacien had a dodgy couple of games. Wolfie didn't. Norman Greenwald, Donacien for the consistency across the whole season. Chris Wright, Wolf demonstrated possible Premiership level this year.
He did.
Anthony Steele, JD for me as consistent performer. Mike D, Wolfenden looked like a Rolls Royce under McKenna last season. Incredible transformation.
If Wolf's contract was ending this year, you'd be shocked at the team sniffing in for him with serious intent. Thank God we've got him on a decent contract. Because if he was another one we had to renegotiate, there'd be teams lining outside the fucking stadium to sign this boy after the season he's had. He's a great age. He's just coming into his Rolls Royce stage at an age where he can still get better, and that doesn't go unnoticed. There'll be a lot of teams who know his name that won't be saying anything because he's still on contract. But you wait till his contract runs out. You might be a bit shocked about who comes in for him.
While this is all great, fantastic conversation, fantastic points. You're absolutely right. Our back line is our best feature. That is also why, Mike, we are still in League One, because this time next year we need to be talking about our strikers in this way, because strikers win you points and points win you prizes. All due respect, a clean sheet only gets you 1 point a game, and that's 46 points, and that ain't ever going to be enough.
Two things that failed this season big time. Our strikers not banging in. Strikers and our midfielders. Some of our, an attacking midfielder to add to goals, and our set plays. Set plays were abysmal this year.
100% right.
Agreed.
Bang on the money.
Agreed. But you do still need that striker before I let you go, Lee. That you talk about in the way you talk about a Luke Wolfenden or a John Donacien. You need somebody. Every top team has that player they build around. It's their striker. Rarely these days is it, we've got a great back three, we're going to win the league title.
No, there's the balance there, isn't there? But again, it comes down to formation and what you were talking about earlier about Woodrow, Pigger, Bond, Norwood. On their given season, in the right format, in the right club, with the right system, they will all score goals. Same as Jackson. They all will. Will Keane, I've said it before, Will Keane is a prime example.
Yeah.
Scored a few goals for us, looked pretty decent, but then we're all happy to get rid. But on his given day, on the right season, they will score goals, and strikers will. I think McKenna, if we use Woodrow as an example, someone was saying, "Oh, he only scored 4 goals last year," but you've got to look at the whole picture. Was he in a struggling team? How was the setup? Was he injured at times? That sort of thing. What you've got to think is what would he look like in the team that we have, where we dominate the ball and we have a lot of possession. That's where it's got to be. But I agree with Mike what he said about the service. You've got to get the service in at the right time for that. So really, just striker is obviously key. Every position is key. If you've got a striker, I think with Woodrow, looking at, I think I was like Mike, I had a little look on YouTube and that, and you can get a bit carried away with his best bits, because you could say that, you can look at most strikers' best bits, but he could left foot, right foot, inside the box, outside the box. He can beat players to score goals, he can score with his head, and he takes penalties. Yes, he scored a lot of penalties, but that's not his fault. So for me, that type of striker is what we need. But we also need, I said before, those strikers that when you're playing against a really entrenched defence, someone who can just pick up those positions. Someone like Chaplin, to be fair, who's very cute at picking up the gaps in between the defenders and picking up loose balls and finding space in tight areas. So that's key for me. But I've said before, it is a tale of two halves of the season. I support Cook. Right to almost the bitter end, I suppose, wanting to give him time. I saw, based on the vision of the club. Yeah. But Cook cost us this season, and he cost us last season. That's what the stats tell you. That doesn't mean he, that doesn't mean he shouldn't have been given time. But that's a simple fact backed up by points and players and such like. And it's interesting. We're sitting here talking about players now. If we'd had player of the season last year, we would have all been chucking them all in the bin. You wouldn't have had a show, would you? That would have been a riot, an absolute riot, wouldn't it? Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. But they finished higher than this team.
We could actually have a manager of the season on this show right now.
Well, we're not going to, because that would just be a one-sided affair. Not the goalkeeper situation. But Lee, you're absolutely right. Perfect. Right. Gonna bring Colin in a second. Lee, we value your contribution as always.
Cheers, guys. Take care of
yourself.
Start shaving this though, Lee. Don't just don't get lazy.
No, it's all ginger and grey. I can't be bothered.
Grow. You get past that. Keep going.
That's what
for Ben, yeah.
Lee, we love you, man. Look after yourself. Look after yourself. Right, Colin, you're here for the important award.
All right, boy.
How are we, boys? All right.
Very well. We've got 2 awards left: Player of the Year and Most Improved Player. Let's start with that one first. Most Improved Player. Who would be your Most Improved Player of the Year, Colin?
Most Improved Player of the Year. Well, again, I mean, going on for what the boys have been saying about the defending and what have you. The most improved is it's banging me in the face. It's got to be Wolfenden. Okay. It really has. All right. Really has.
Lots of love for Wolfie on the platform tonight. Loving it. This time last year, he was along with Caden and Flynn. He was told he could, find pastures new, and people weren't too upset about that from memory. Ben, who's your most improved player?
Danasian, but I do see what Colin is saying, and I almost am on that boat. But it's got to be Danasian for me, just because he did play consistently before. I wasn't very good, but it's an apples and oranges thing. I totally am with Colin on that. It's a very good point.
Mike, who's your most improved player?
Look, that's why I gave Wolfenden the best defender, because I went on literally our defensive role, but a most improved player. And there was a lot of fans on this platform that gave Danasian next to no hope. Yeah, Wolfenden's always had that, maybe, possibly, could be, but Danasian was always, for such a long time, fans were calling for his head, and he weren't good enough. He's a League Two player at best, and all this lot. Him and Burns have created a partnership on that right-hand side, which is, well, I would say the best easily in this league. If not the Championship as well. I don't know another partnership in the Championship that works as well as JD and Burns. So for me, most improved player by a clear mile is Donasian. Based on that, based on the fact that everybody had sort of written him off.
Yeah, I think, you got a great point there. Louis Fenton, Colin, JD went from not getting a look in by Lambert and being constantly sent out on loan, comes back and is our most consistent player.
Yeah, I can't dispute that. I mean, what the boys are saying, I'm not, sitting on the fence here at all. When I said Wolfie, I kind of meant it, but I've got to say, and I've got to be totally honest about this with Ben and Mike. Wood Donasian, look, they'd be on a par really, both of them. They've both been very, very much improved this year. That's not just to say that to agree with Mike and Ben. I'm using my football head, and absolutely, I totally agree with Mike, and I totally agree with Ben. Yeah, I get all of it, Ben. I get all of it.
Most improved players. Let's put those in a bubble. They are interchangeably brilliant for where they come from. Maybe that's it.
It's getting better at Portman Road. These awards are getting harder, which is always a good sign of a good football team. This time last year, as you said, Colin, if I had asked you most improved, you'd have laughed at me. And if I asked you from Player of the Year, you'd have tried to chuck me in the Orwell, as you said the players should do with their egos, if memory serves me correctly.
Very true.
He'd have been right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, boys, just thinking on one, when we talk about most improved, obviously, Wes Burns came to us from Fleetwood, and again, from what we saw and what we've seen this season, surely Wes would be up there as well, because I mean he's gone from like level 6 or 7, if you like, to level 9, in my opinion, over the last 2 months.
That's an interesting point, because where he ended up, arguably, was higher than Wolfenden and Donasian. So that's a really interesting point, actually. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, Edmondson, for his debut, was completely 2 out of 10, and then he turned into one of our best defenders. The live chat poll is literally, it's like watching it on election night. It's swinging left, it's swinging right. It ain't too sure what's going on. At the moment, it's 50-50. Donasian was winning at one point, then Wolf was winning at another point. It was 48-52. It is neck and neck. There is 10 seconds left. The next vote will decide who the most improved. Oh, there you go. It's happened. It's Donasian with 50.
Oh,
it's Donasian. He nicks the most improved player. But we now come to the award that everybody wants to win, gentlemen. The Player of the Year. Here are your nominations for 2022 Player of the Year. We have got Christian Walton. We have got Wesley Burns. We have got James Norwood. We have got Luke Wolfenden, Macaulay Bonne, Connor Chaplin, and Janoy Donasian.
No Matt Penny.
You can have Penny if you want, but Mike, I'll come to you first. Who is your Player of the Year, my friend, out of the nominations given?
Right. I've thought long and hard about this, and I am. This is 50.001 is the reason why I've gone this way. I voted for him in the Players of the Year awards for the club, and I'll stand by that. Janoy Donasian has consistently been a 7+ player from the start of the season to the very end. And I think he's made his position in that team, there's no one else that can take that role. He has helped and created a partnership with Burns that's made Burns, the confidence in Burns as well going forward with Donasian is phenomenal. And I know that Burns has got it, and I know there's a lot of love for Burns, and I'm one of them. I just feel that when Burns first came here, he wasn't a 7 out of 10 player. It took him a few games to get into it, and to a point, I think there was a few shows where there was players, people on the show going, oh, I'm not so sure about Burns, but the end of the season, you can't argue with what Burns has done. But for me, I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to support Danasian. I think he's been brilliant this season. I think, not by a clear mile, but by margins. And, without that, I think Burns for me would be my second choice. But I will say Danasian.
Okay. Mike Brown, gone for Danasian. Ben?
Oh, God, do you know what, Mike? You bastards. You almost swayed me by that 0.001%. You were so close. However, by the same margin, I will go for Wolf. Wolf has allowed Danasian to be Danasian for Burns. You cannot underestimate the consistency of a player that, like you, always judge from a 7 or an 8 every single game. That's not to undervalue Danasian, because he has been absolutely fantastic all season long. But I look at Wolf, maybe it's my own bias, a lot, and the work he does off the ball. For me, what it was, he had no right to come in a team to lose someone like Edmondson and actually get better. He shouldn't have done that. He was the rock that Wolfenden's always needed to be next to him to give him the confidence and the talking to go forward. When we lost Edmondson, we should have lost Wolf, and we didn't. He got better. For me, that's character and that's consistency.
But that was the second half of the season. That's my only point.
I know. And so then it's a question of Gov's point, which is your best ability is availability. I hear that. But I can't shake it that it's by the 0.1% margin.
Yeah.
I will be. I'm not going to go for Burns because I think he speaks for himself. It's kind of our player. I'm almost with you on Danasian because he is by the slimmest of margins the second favourite player of the year. But I watch Wolf, and I've watched him for a long time on where he's come from and where he is, and he had to pass the litmus test, which is I'm losing the person that's making me good. It's almost like when you go through a terrible divorce and it doesn't destroy you, it makes you stronger. And for me, I do like to see that in a fairly youngish player. So that's my opinion. It might not be the right one, but it's my
No.
I think it's mad that you're absolutely spot on the pair of you, but I think it's quite mad, ironic, strange, whatever the word maybe I'm looking for. That so far, the 2 Player of the Year nominations in Danasian and Wolfenden are players that didn't start the season in the team. That's quite something, really. Danasian came off the bench because he got was an injury, if that memory serves me correctly. But both certainly were not highly rated at the start of the year. The chat is very much torn as you would imagine. Yvonne says Burns, Graham says Burns, Craig at Paul says Burns.
It's too obvious. It's too obvious.
Sharon Guest says JD, Chris Robinson JD, Mike D says Louis Barry. Tabotic says Christian Walton. That's who my vote is for, Christian Walton. I think. Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sell it to me like you're a salesman and I have money in my pocket and I was almost on the verge of buying.
Well, I'm not a very good salesman, but Christian Walton, a good goalkeeper wins you 12 points in a season. We saw just how important a goalkeeper was when Bart was here. The year he was Superman, we stayed up. The year he was ordinary man, we went down. Christian Walton is nowhere near Bart Josh Bilikowski's level yet. He is a goalkeeper that is ascending. He has taken the opportunity. He is much better than the Blackburn family on the show gave him any credit for. And he's settled. He does his business. He does his job. He's cool. He's calm. And he's a fantastic shot stopper. Incredible shot stopper that can only get better. And the reason why Janoy Danasian was good, the reason why Elkan Baggott was good when he came in for his 2 games is because you've got a calming, assured influence behind the back 3. Somebody they know is there when they need him
Ooh.
and not there when he doesn't have to be. Because so many times, Colin, we've seen goalkeepers be in places they have no business being in places. He just does his job, does Christian Morton.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you what, you took the words right out of my mouth, because when you talked about Player of the Year, from having watched, like we all have, having watched all the games this season, I was thinking about it, and I know you won't like it, Gov, but I wanted to be fair about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it while the other gentlemen were talking.
Just don't say Luca.
And Walton was one of the first ones to come to my mind. And if I was to give 25% to 4 players, I'd give it to Christian Walton, I'd give it to JD, I'd give it to Wolf, and I'd give it to Burns. And out of all those 4, if I was pushed, to say in what order, I would probably go from 1 to 4. I'd probably go Burns, Walton, Wolf, and then Donasian. But that doesn't detract from how I saw them all this season. I thought they were all deserving of Player of the Year, especially Walton. I was going to say about him.
Go for it, Colin. Tell us about.
I'll tell you what.
Just tell us, because you've seen some great goalkeepers.
When you think about the horrendous start that poor bloke had when we played Bolton, and to come back from that was literally like being on the ropes against Fury, and you're some kind of lightweight fighting Fury, and he's hammering the hell out of you. And, and that lightweight's come back somehow, and Walton, to me, after that horror debut, he deserves all the accolades he gets. But no, all 4 of them all deserve a mention. JD's been bloody brilliant. Wolfie's been brilliant. Walton's been absolutely brilliant since that horrendous debut. And Burns has been outstanding. So, look, do I want to split them? No, I don't. They all wear the blue. Well, apart from Walton, they all wear the blue shirt. And if they're there to, if they're there for us to, say a little bit of good about them, and they hear this, I think it does a bit of good. And also another thing I'd like to say, Gov, which will make you laugh, and Ben and Mike. I'll tell you what, when we think back about Wolfie, and when we used to see him driving down there, when he hadn't been in the side, and we went over and we had a chat with him, I'll tell you what, again, that bloke, he deserves all the praise going, because I'll tell you what, at one time he was nearly on the floor, bless him. But, we had 1 or 2 little words with him, and, we picked him up when he was down, kind of thing, and he's going from strength to strength. And I agree totally with what Mike said earlier. Look, I don't even know really. Look, I'm not going to go silly. I know what Rich would be thinking, and he'd be absolutely right. Let's not go too silly about it. But could he play in the Championship? He could play in there. He could play in there right now for me. Will he play in the Premier League? I think he probably will. When that will be, I'm not sure. But that's hopefully with us on the back of 2 promotions with a bit of luck.
Colin, we love you, my friend. Thank you for stopping.
Take care, Colin. Good speaking to you,
buddy.
Look after yourself.
Take care, Ben.
He delivers a good speech, does our Colin. He really does. We've got some comments. We've got Chris Wright. We seem to be taking Morsey for granted here. Hugely influential. Louis, I don't understand why no one's really mentioning Morsey. Crucial to us playing well when he's in the team. We play better. Guys, I checked back. I gave the rendition for Morsey. I tried to put Morsey in the conversation, but he didn't make it out of the midfield category. But that's probably because of how strong Wes Burns had played and Connor Chaplin had played last year. Nothing to do with Morsey. But I did try. For you.
Morsey done well. There was times, like I said, I think he had a better second half than he did the first.
I think they all did. To be fair, there's not many you would say.
This is why I stuck my guns with JD, because I think he consistently played well all season, and that's why I gave him player of the season. But again, like you say, you talk about Walton again. He came in, he had a real shaky start. He done really well. And we say that defence loves a calming keeper, but I think a keeper loves a calming defence as well. I think if you've got a good defence in front of you,
true.
You play better as a keeper. And I think if you've got a good keeper behind you, you play better as a defence. And I just think, like I said, I take on board Walton. I think, like I say, I think he's definitely up there with a good performance this season. Like I say, but. Yeah, I mean, Morsey, let's not take anything away from Morsey. He's had some cracking games. He's played some really good games where you think, wow, he was unplayable. But then they did have that one game where it would be like, oh, God, where is Morsey today? What's going on? He needs to grab hold of that midfield.
I agree with that.
That is where I see Morsey as a player. And, I think, I stand by. I think I prefer Morsey playing his more natural role than trying to.
I agree with that.
He's 30 years old now, Neil. Well, he's 30, and you don't want to be trying to change a person's game just trying to get a few more goals. I think you played a person to the strengths, and Morsey's strength is that defensive midfielder that can break up play and just get the ball forward quicker.
Absolutely, yeah.
Rather than getting him forward, we can bring in players to do that.
John Warren, I thought Walton looked hesitant in his first few games, but then he grew and grew and grew. I have the utmost confidence in him. Lewis Morsey is the most influential. I think he got better and better as the season went on. We need to build on around our team next season.
I do see your kind of the importance on Walton, because I think your argument is kind of a house that's built on rock rather than a house built on sand.
Yes.
Because you could argue that everything in front of Walton starts at Walton. If you've got a shit goalkeeper who can't distribute, can't catch, can't do anything, it almost kind of negates the excellence of the excellence of the defenders in front of you. Your goalkeeper must be the starting point. He's the key in the ignition, at which point this amazing car doesn't start. So I do see your point.
See, I don't agree with what Stephen Parry's put there. In the most influence, the award for most influence, Morsey win hands down. I don't agree. I think Burns and Danassian have influenced more games than most on that pitch. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's not to take away. Morsey has not been brilliant, because he has at times, but like I said, consistently, has he been consistent every game? No. He hasn't. And if anybody says he has, they're talking rubbish, I'm afraid. But but the reality is, does that detract from him being a very good player? Well, of course it doesn't. You're allowed to have a bad game as a good player. I just feel that if Morsey can stay, and I don't agree we build a team around him, because there ain't many years left in Morsey. Do you know what I mean? And I've already said, and I've said on Twitter and whatever, if Morsey goes, it's not the end. It's not a disaster for this club, because there's always more Morseys out there. There's always someone that's going to step in and come in and do a job.
Yeah. I disagree, but I could see where you're coming from with that level of thinking. I think it's how you measure influence, and one is an influence on the game, the other is an influence on the dressing room, I guess, in terms of culture and standard.
Very good point.
Are we doing Coach of the Year? Says Norman. Cook or McKenna? That's too easy. That we wouldn't be here very long. TT Contributor of the Year says Lee. Oh, Lee, I couldn't do that.
Oh,
I couldn't
that's
do that.
so good.
Absolutely.
No, they're all.
But who decides though? Who decides? Maybe that's like a public one.
Yeah, no. For me, they're all contributors of the year. Tim Malden. Morsey sets the tone. If he's on it, the team tends to respond. Likewise, if he's off, the team struggle to dominate. Ben, we're going to end tonight. Before we do, John Warren, I thought I've already read that one. Sorry, John. We're going to end tonight, Ben, with one of your famous analogies. Whatever you want to call them, because Lewis Robinson says 2 years ago, we were just about to announce the triple signings of Cornell, Ward, and Hawkins. This evening, we've discussed Sam Morsey, Wesley Burns, Connor Chaplin, Bersant Salina, Christian Wharton, and more. Ben, your final thoughts?
What based off of the back of that?
Yep.
Jesus Christ! Well, 2 years ago, I had diarrhea for about 3 weeks, and I feel better now. So there you go. We're on the journey. No, we're finishing it.
How far have we come, though? Really, in all honesty, because
the names of their. Do you know what? They're so bad, you almost actually forget. It's a bit like when I think back to the COVID and the lockdown. It's now a sufficient amount of time has passed where I don't think about the trauma of what that was. It's almost like you put it to the back of your brain, almost like it never happened. That's my experience of it. That level of signings, I remember actually being relatively excited about that. And you think, if I knew then what I knew now, but hey, welcome to football.
But then Chris makes the comment that Mike will has been making for weeks. All those names have finished lower than Cornell and Co.
That's quite sad, isn't it, really? We look at the players, and you think, but like Lee said earlier, there's players that have come in, sometimes they're not suiting the formation that we've been playing. And yeah, Cook promised us the world. And I remember going to Bury Town, wasn't it? Watching the Bury Town game, I think it was. And, coming over, giving it the big large. Oh, don't worry, we got a new signing coming this week. And I think, like I said, not far too many signs at the start of the season. Some rather questionable tactics, and we are where we are. The thing is, I think we have a better foundation this season than what we had last season.
Yeah, I agree.
To me is why I think we will do a lot better next season. And I'm still saying I want top two. I don't want playoffs. Playoffs is a lottery. You can be a really good side and not go up.
Okay. Well, but that I agree with you. But then playoffs would be a step in the right direction. We've not even been in the playoffs once yet since being.
No, but
just being in that lottery is a sign of progression. Let's be honest.
Yeah, look, I take it as a backup. Yes, I take it as a backup. I want top two.
Like, can a club that's not been in the playoffs once since being relegated be as greedy or as arrogant, some might call it, or whatever word you want to associate with it, as to say that's a backup option? Yeah, we'll have the playoffs as a backup. Like we've not been in the playoffs once yet.
No. Look, we have got hell of an investment. We have got a structure within the club right now that's is going in the right direction. We have had 16 years, I think it is, of pure, putrid, rancid, polished turd, as I call it, and that is the basis of what we've had to tolerate with Marcus Evans. What we have now is owners and people at the club that are changing the dynamics from the inside out. And yes, bringing all them players in didn't help. And yes, we should have done better. I agree. But let's be honest, last year we got rid of most of our squad. I know that we said this before with regards to other teams bringing in 19 players, but they had foundations. We didn't have nothing. We got rid of so much dead wood that we had no foundation to build on. We had to dig the foundation, and unfortunately, Cook didn't know how to level a foundation. And what we have now is bless him. And what we have now is a solid foundation of players.
Welcome to Brighton Sea.
Welcome back, Ben. Question. All right, this is the last question now. Question from Mike D, especially to Guillotine and Axeman. If we have similar starts as last season, what do you do? Axeman, I think he means you there, Mike. What do you do? Similar start as last season.
Oh God, I hope. Look, I don't think we will. I genuinely don't think we will. I think.
Let's be real. If you have a similar start to last season, you have to consider the position. You have to. If it's a similar start,
Of course, I mean,
there's no other answer.
if we go 10 games,
you can't say same start as last year, so that means the season's kind of over already. But I like him, so we'll stick. You can't walk in that world. That's a really.
If we go 10 games and we ain't won one game and we've lost the other 9, I'm sorry, but change of manager, isn't it? Simple as.
Well, the conversation has to be spoken about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no good. It's no good sitting there saying otherwise. Something's not working, is it? You know, if you know, my thing. Look, I love McKenna. I think he's a great. I think he'll be a great manager. My concern is whether he knows this league.
He does by now. He does.
Yeah, now maybe. Yeah,
He does now. And I think, Ben, to bring you in as we close, I think that's why a question, as Mike's put it there, a very clever question. I think it's almost also a redundant question, because I think McKenna is so good that it isn't ever going to be something we have to consider.
It won't, and I'll put the mortgage on it.
Oh,
cool.
I like it.
You're brave.
McKenna has earned some goodwill. Finished 11th, Chris. Has he? I mean, you know, you were talking about seasons, right in season. It's a really tough one because. You
say that, and I'm with you on that. You know I am. I'm saying, yeah, look, we finished 11th. And yes, there was games I think we should have won under McKenna. And I think maybe player choices, maybe tactics didn't work at them particular games. Losing to Cambridge was a highlight, wasn't it? Let's be honest. But if you look at McKenna's record against Paul Cook's record, if we'd have had Kieran McKenna at the start of the season, would be in 11th? Probably not. I think we'd have finished. I think based on that, I think we'd have finished 5th. I think it was.
Well, based on the results from when he came in, it was going to be a 5th place. Anyway, right, we are done for the evening. The player of the year has been decided. We chewed the fat.
Goal of the season.
Goal of the season. Well, that's Bursa and Selena, isn't it? Obviously.
Well, why ask me the question? You said. Honestly, guys, send me a message.
I changed my mind.
I was answering that at fucking 6 o'clock eating my dinner.
I changed my
mind. Send me a message like, oh, you know, have you decided you're? And I'm like,
I changed my mind. I thought it was too easy. It's like
how about the best turn flick on the right wing, and then going past a player at Portman Road this season?
Wouldn't be that one, would it? That is a sexy clip, although sadly that is his highlight.
That's
the problem.
If he can do that, player of the season to Luco. Luco is player of the season. Everyone else is wrong.
Right, we are back on Sunday for Talking Town. Then it's our unofficial week.
We've got to finish on Selena's goal. We've got that clip.
I haven't got that clip, no. I'll tell you what I have got, though, which I will end on, just so you can appreciate at one point how good he was, and also just enjoy the raw. Because
I've got a shout out as well. I've got a shout out to
when I played it the other day. It was. Oh no, have I lost it?
Hang on.
Oh no. Go on.
Got a shout out to a new fan, new tractor girl, friend of mine, Sophie. Hello, if you watch it.
Hello, Sophie.
Move talker.
He is right. So we're going to end the show. We are back on Sunday, and this is the end of our series 2, if you like, on the Wednesday show. So thank you for tuning in with us. Ben, as always, a privilege. Mike, as always,
great show tonight. Enjoyed that.
Great fun.
Brilliant. Thoroughly
enjoyed the show with a goal. Just enjoy this goal. Remember how good this player was for the time period. Sophie, I said, well done, Lewis. Sophie, get subscribing, and just listen to the raw. We'll soon be back there, my friends.